You're making all kinds of just crazy wazoo wizardry gadgets. Did it start with the exploding USB drives?
The OMG cable, you can connect to this thing from anywhere on Earth. This can now intercept the keystrokes. They're going to type that password every single time they log into the computer. You remotely see that and then do all the nefarious things you wanted.
I got the complete set.
Yeah, you did.
Watch out. Where did this kind of start? Did it start with the exploding hard drive, USB drives?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. Like, I had always been tinkering with things like those beam bots, right? But yeah, so I think it was on Twitter or something. I saw just a picture of somebody with a USB drive. The shell was open, and there's just like a firecracker sitting inside of it. No idea if it worked or not, but I'm just like, everybody has like the same visceral response to seeing that. Like, oh shit, exploding thumb drive. And I'm like, you know what'd be cool is if it was worse. So USB rubber ducky. Got to explain what that is first for this to make sense. My now business partner, Hack5, kind of invented the USB rubber ducky, I don't know, like 15 years ago now, something like that. That does the same basic keystroke injection that I had demoed with the cable, right? Where you plug it in, it types something really fast, whatever you want to control a computer or whatever you want, right? I wanted one of those that also exploded. So first thing I had to do is if you open up a rubber ducky, there's not much space in there. It's all electronics. I'm like, okay, how can I shrink this really tiny so I have space for something that goes boom? So I spent a lot of time playing with that, right? Now, I didn't recreate a rubber ducky exactly. Like, it's a really, really limited version, like a few hundred keystrokes, really slow, done, right? That's it. Really hard to use. But it was tiny, and I shrunk it, and and it's just, I don't know, I think it was like 8 by 10 millimeters when I was done, like a pill, basically. That left the rest of the thumb drive empty that I could hook up with a little mini detonator and, some maybe a firecracker or two, and a bunch of confetti. And I rigged this up to a keystroke injection payload that opens a browser to an animation of Jack in the Box, and he's cranking it right on the screen, except it goes for an awkwardly long amount of time to build up tension. And it's going, and you're like,
that's what shows up on the screen when you plug it in?
So you're watching that, and then pop, the drive blows up, confetti goes everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, that was cool. I just viewed that as fun.
Yeah.
Like another type of art or something like that. Put it out on the internet, and it was like, that's crazy. A lot of people ask me to sell that. Now, no, that's a terrible idea for so many reasons, liability, etc. When you put something into the world that can be used negatively, it's always worth gaming out. Like, how bad can it go, and can you prevent some of it? Which I've done a lot with the cable. But in this case, it was just something I wanted to put out there. But now, at that point, I had a really tiny ducky, right, that maybe I could put it in other things. And eventually I got the idea, probably in like doing my IT job, looking on Amazon for spare parts for hardware and stuff. I noticed there were like USB cable repair ends and boots. I'm like, wait, what? You can just get those? At the time I didn't know much about manufacturing, right? Got some of those and realized there was enough space in them for the cables and this really tiny, fake ducky, right? Shove it in there, and I get the very first proof of concept of a malicious USB cable. I put that out, and I already told the story about that one where it gets out there and a lot of people like it, and then a lot of people wanted it. I think almost a year goes by before I'm like, you know what? I could make that way better. Like, that was a toy. Like, this is just like a cool gimmick to show like a very basic prank. Barely even worked for that. What would a proper tool look like? And I was getting way more into like the concept of I want to do red teaming as well. So I'm combining those things. And yeah, like, okay, well, I need Wi-Fi, I need remote control to update payloads after it's already in play. Because the idea is you can either deploy a cable, like physically get inside, or you could just leave it in somebody's bag, leave it around, and eventually, people are going to take a cable sometimes, and they'll bring it in with them to the secure space. Like, cool, I didn't have to even go in. Great. which creates some interesting legal problems, which we can get into that I've also solved. Um, but that kind of is just how it kept evolving. And then at that point, it's like, okay, this is a real tool. At the time, I was thinking I should do this in a way that I just make it open source and everyone could make their own.
Are we still talking about the USB?
Yeah, USB cable.
Okay.
And that's I thought about that, right? Like I was prototyping this cable, this new one, like on a desktop mill for cutting PCBs, right? Like I was pushing the limits on this machine where you can mill a PCB. So the PCB, actually, I got a little problem with this. So a PCB, like here's a complete product. This is a Raspberry Pi, right? When I say PCB, I'm talking about just the green part here.
Okay.
It's basically a fiberglass and epoxy with a thin layer of copper on it that gets turned into traces and that connects all of these components. These like the black thing there, that's a component, and all the little things you see on there, they're soldered on. That's components with copper traces connecting them together electrically, right?
Okay.
So I used a mill to kind of cut out the copper traces, and I would assemble in my garage lots of different test versions of what this cable could look like. And I got the idea, kind of going back to the defense distributed concept where, open source is this, people can make it on a desktop mill, go that direction. What I learned over the 12 months of revising is it's really hard to do this. Like DIY was just not in the cards. Like nobody was going to be able to do this. I'm like, okay, well, let's throw out the DIY. I can just turn up the complexity. There's PCBs with 2 layers, like copper on each side, right? That's the common one. I can make those in my garage, but okay, what if I want 8 layers or something like that? That gets really expensive. We're talking every time I want to do a run of an 8-layer PCB, 6-layer PCB is like a minimum $1,000.
Okay.
Like I have to send that off to a factory. They're using lasers and all kinds of crazy X-ray inspection stuff to do this. So I'm like, okay, if I can use that, how far can I go? And that kind of is how I evolved into making a more and more and more complex cable that is like the latest generation OMG cable. It does all of these different things. And yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So how did you go? So you went from the exploding USB to the what do you call it? What do you call the USB?
The exploding USB?
The other one.
The OMG cable?
Yes.
Hey folks, our friends at Tractor Supply have always stood for community, for neighbors helping neighbors, and for the people who keep life out here moving forward. And at the heart of every community are the heroes who serve, the veterans, active duty military, first responders, and the families who stand beside them. These are the folks who answer the call, who protect, who sacrifice. And Tractor Supply believes that deserves more than just a thank you. That's why they created the Hometown Heroes program. It's their way of giving back in meaningful, everyday ways. As a hometown hero, you'll enjoy special perks through Neighbors Club, like earning rewards on every purchase, free trailer rentals and delivery, and exclusive savings on holidays that honor your service. And the best part? Once you sign up and verify through ID.me, it's automatic. No hoops, no hassles. So if you or someone you love is a hometown hero, visit tractorsupply.com/hometownheroes to learn more. It's Tractor Supply's way of standing behind those who always stand for us.
OMG cable.
But there was a hard drive. There was a USB cable that did what the OM. Or the
Oh yeah,
USB
so
drive.
I guess I just kind of call it like early prototype tests. I was referring to it kind of at the time as like bad USB cable, which is not an accurate description. It was more of a nod to some research at the time that was called bad USB. That's where you would take an actual thumb drive. There's a few old thumb drives that you could take and reprogram the controller on it, actually do keystroke injection, among many other things. It was also a worm that would replicate to other thumb drives you would plug in. Cool concept, but
What was the first product you took to market?
OMG cable, definitely.
The OMG
Yeah.
cable?
So here's the thing: is I was making a lot of these things like for like personal use, but I would also kind of sell them to friends and stuff. You know, it's kind of like the back alleys of DEF CON type situation. Like
Cool.
I wasn't advertising this, but it's like if you know me, I know you. Yeah, I'll give you some of these things.
Gotcha.
But it became clear like I had to start scaling up. Like the first batch of prototype OMG cables, I think it was 2019. I brought as many as I could. They took me. It was like 8 or 16 hours per cable, and 50% of them were failures because like that which is terrible. Like when you make something like an electronic product, usually you get like 95, 99% yields, which means, 1 to 5% are failures that you throw away. These things were so hard to self-assemble that I was throwing away 50% of what I made.
Wow.
So that automatically doubles the amount of time invested to make a cable. So, I'm doing like 16-ish hours per cable to make them.
Wow.
Like that's
16 hours of cable?
silly. So, I was kind of hitting my limit of like what I could accomplish with the time I had. And it's like, you know what? I need to learn how to like delegate this outsource manufacturing assembly. Because I was also doing this like hand placing things. You go to an assembler. So there's a couple steps here. So I'm going to run you through basically the manufacturing pipeline that I slowly learned is important here. But first, Hack 5. It's really important to mention Hack 5 here. So USB rubber ducky, already mentioned. That's Darren Kitchen is founder of Hack 5. He, that was his baby, invented about 15 years ago. He's got so many other things like the land turtle, the Wi-Fi pineapple, just package
What is
squirrel.
this? What are these?
They're similar to the ant
What's the
kettle,
land
right?
turtle?
Exactly, right? So all of these are different kind of like hardware implants or hardware tools for. They're multi-purpose, but often used for offensive security. So like the land turtle is like a network implant that can control a computer, but also like sniff up network data or just do malicious network stuff. What else? Wi-Fi pineapple. This is just a little box with antennas on it that allows you to do network attacks, right? Really cool stuff.
Network what?
Network-based, so Wi-Fi attacks. Like you can break into Wi-Fi. You can. They call them like man in the middle concept. I like to refer to it as mischief in the middle. But basically, you've got your device here and like the wireless access point here, right? They're talking. But you bring in a Wi-Fi pineapple and it can kind of intercept in between the two. There's so many different ways you can do this. There's no one single way. It's lots of Wi-Fi based tooling. Another example, it's not so much relevant these days, but when you connect to like your free Wi-Fi access points, coffee shops and stuff, your phone remembers that. Typically, you've told it to remember that usually. So next time you're in range, it's going to automatically connect, right? The Wi-Fi pineapple, for instance, can say, guess what? I'm that Wi-Fi too, right? So if I pull up one right here and put it next to you or just anywhere, you happen to be, your phone's going to be like, oh, that I know that Wi-Fi. Let me connect to it, right? So that type of stuff, there's just so many different attacks that I couldn't possibly run through all of them. But that just as an example, like there's so many different approaches to security. Like we think about computers and like plug in USB in, but yeah, there's other things. There's the network, there's the wireless, there's near field communication with like badges and things like that. Totally different tools, totally different specialties and focuses. Like the badge readers you don't think of as like computer security for the most part. It's just building access, right? That's all one whole thing.
Interesting.
When you're doing proper, complete security awareness and testing.
I want you to discuss and talk about exactly what it is that the OMG cable does, and show us an example. And for those that are listening, if you go to Mike's Everyday Carry, does a phenomenal job at actually showing what it does real time on computers, on phones. It's fascinating. But go ahead and give us the show us what it is and walk us through what exactly it does.
Yeah, definitely. Let's pull one out. Just a visual. There's a good one. So, OMG cable, right? Looks exactly like one of the many USB cables you've got. And if it doesn't, I got a whole bunch more here to guarantee it does.
Sure, yeah. Pull that. Let me see that. Yeah, so it's got a whole line of them.
Yep.
And I got the complete set.
Yeah, you did.
Watch out. But yeah, so each one of these fit a different phone or USB drive?
Yeah, I mean, so basically, think about
I should say.
Yeah, I mean, think about all the different, and think of it as camouflage, basically. It's like, what's the environment? Did they use white cables? Do they use USB-A, USB-C? Is it a Mac shop? Cool, they're going to have lightning on one end. Maybe, if they got the older phones. If it's newer phones, cool, and USB-C. And it's really about blending in to fit what's already in place. So you could swap it out, or you can do other things. There's a lot of different approaches and techniques you can have when you have a device that is physically invisible, and it just hiding in plain sight. So that's the physical aspect of it, and that took me a huge amount of time of shrinking down the components, which I will describe in just a second. But shrinking it down it just took absurd amounts of time. Just designing the PCB that goes in here, and then beyond that, just the entire process of integrating the PCB into a cable. That just took like a year, basically.
Well, before we get into how you manufactured it, let's talk about what it does.
Yeah, exactly. So the PCB inside of here, what it does is when you plug it into it's primarily targeting laptops and desktops. It's got a PCB that will wirelessly kind of light up, and it'll connect back to you. There's so many different ways you can configure it, but this wireless connection allows remote connection into the cable. Get a full web UI in your web browser, right? Whether it's on your phone or laptop. Can even connect out to the internet, and you can connect to this thing from anywhere on Earth if you do it that way. What's it do though? You got control of this wirelessly. The main thing,
when you say it can connect to the internet, does it bypass passwords?
No, you still got to have like a wireless network it can connect to, or you bring one in. Like if I open my phone right now and looked at all the wireless networks, I bet there's probably one in there I could connect to. If not, like, are you going to notice like a free coffee shop Wi-Fi nearby?
No,
why not? For instance, right? There's the flexibility is the name of the game with this. There's no one way to use it. There's so many ways, because in a red team scenario, you don't know what you're up against, and you're going to need some options to circumvent a problem. But yeah, still, what does it even do? You're connected to it, but it primarily emulates a keyboard. It says, I'm a keyboard, and it types really fast. So what does that do? Literally anything I could do sitting at the computer at the keyboard. Yeah. So whether that's implanting malware or whatever it may be, right? That's kind of the basic functionality of it. But I mean, it's not it. USB cables can often connect a keyboard to a computer. When you're sitting at a desk, swap out that cable, and this can now intercept the keystrokes, which is really good. Just like one classic use case is, if the machine is locked, I mean, you can type all you want, but you're at a lock screen. You need to get past the lock screen. What do you need to get past the lock screen? You need the password, right? How do you get the password? There's a lot of ways. I mean, you could call up the person and effectively ask them for it by saying, I'm IT or something like that. But if you're deployed between a keyboard, you can just pull it right off the lines. They're going to type that password every single time they log into the computer. You remotely see that. You rebuild a new payload that maybe when they go to lunch in the evening, when you know they're not at the machine anymore, it's just going to type in that password, automatically unlock the machine, and then do all the nefarious things you want it to at that point.
So you just have full access to the computer.
Yeah, at that point,
you can see everything. You can access anything, so long as you capture the password from the keystrokes.
Yeah, so not so much seeing. There's a lot of it depends, right? But it's
Is
primarily
it like a screen share, like that Team Viewer thing?
Not at this stage. So
Okay.
at this stage, we're just blindly sending keystrokes in, right? So as long as you know what OS it is or something like that, that's all you need on a desktop. Like I know if I hit Command Space, it's going to open up Spotlight on a Mac, and I can open up Chrome and then go to the address bar, do some things, right? For example, like that's a very repeatable series of keystrokes, and you can do them really fast once you know it. Just for an example.
Okay. All right.
So that's the basics of the very core functionality, and then you combine that with keylogging, and suddenly you're getting a bigger picture here. But there's also other.
Hold on. I want to go down.
Yeah, totally.
I'm a dummy with the shit. So,
yeah, let's go deep.
So yeah. So what would you? So now I didn't even understand that, to be honest, when we did the EDC pocket dump. So basically, so in that little window, you said there will be a window that might pop up for.
Oh yeah, so you see a little
second.
window blink, right? That's basically your terminal. In that case, there's a lot of things I could do, but in that case, on that, I think it was.
So you could put some type of a Trojan horse or something in there.
Yep.
And implant it in the computer, like
exactly right
through a series of keystrokes.
Exactly, and then if you detect the Trojan on there and you remove it, and the cable's still in play, which is designed to be, just put it right back on.
No shit.
Which is absolutely a thing that has happened with a bunch of my customers, that they have told me that, they did an engagement with a very high profile client. We can go into these types of things, but that reinfection vector is exactly what they used.
Do you prompt it, or does it just automatically do it when you put it in the computer?
Either or. So all about flexibility. So you can program this a couple different ways. So what I showed was me remotely connecting to it, and I hit go. But this can be configured that when it powers up, when it gets plugged in, it powers up. It can immediately run a payload. It can wait a series, however long you want, and then run a payload.
Is the payload the actual keystroke? Or
yeah, exactly. So when I say payload, it's the series of keystrokes that gets run.
And the malware or the Trojan horse or whatever?
You can. There's ways of typing out, like if you got like a small executable that you want to transfer over, there's a couple of ways to do that. Like you just use the keystrokes to download it. Right? You can download stuff from like the terminal, for instance, or I could use Chrome and download it there and go to the downloads folder and open it up there.
Through keystrokes?
Yep. I can navigate everything with keystrokes.
So you could, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing with this shit, but I'm learning.
We can do some fun stuff.
So you could send somebody an email and with a downloadable whatever.
Yep, that's one way. Yep.
And then plant that cable on them. They plug the cable in. It does the keystrokes automatically to open Chrome, log into their email, download the thing.
Yeah, that's one way. Yep.
Go to the downloads folder, download it, then you're in.
Yep.
And it all happens within like a couple of seconds.
Yep. That's one way. I mean, I probably wouldn't email it to them, because if I was going to email it, I'd probably include an email that convinces them to just run it for me. Mm-hmm. But if I'm up against a hardened target where they're not as susceptible to that, they're unlikely to do it, I'm like, okay, well, let's get a cable that'll do it for me. As an example, right? This can also do mouse movements too if we need. Lots of control there. And yeah, it's you can also, so the malware, right? You can download that. You can also type it back out. It's called base 64. It's just a whole bunch of, it looks like random garbage characters. If you open up an executable with Notepad, roughly, staying high level here, you're going to see a bunch of garbage text, right? Mm-hmm. But you type that same text out in a Notepad and save it, it's that executable. So I can type that back into the computer, and boom, there's the executable, which is something we've done quite a bit in environments where they're checking what is being downloaded from the internet. I'm like, okay, you're looking at the internet, cool. I'm gonna just type this little piece of malware back into the computer. Lots of cool tricks you can do like that.
Wow.
It's fun.
Who are your customers?
I got everyone, basically.
Who are those people?
Yeah, so...
Is it my former employer?
I mean, possibly.
Fuckers.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.